The Rivers State High Court, sitting in Egbule, has ordered the Chief Judge, Justice C0nfr0nts, that the Martins Egbule-led House of Assembly and his clerk should temporarily halt all actions on the impeachment move against Governor Simi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, pending the determination of the suit before it. This is as the State Assembly insisted on proceeding with the impeachment and had written to Justice Amadi to empanel a 7-member body to oversee the allegations preparatory to impeaching Fubara. However, Governor Simi Fubara has declared that he remains the governor of Rivers State, despite moves by the State House of Assembly to impeach him. Fubara assured that Rivers remains safe despite the political crisis rocking the state. Joining us on this show to discuss the situation in Rivers State around the impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara is Godspower Egbule, a lawyer. Good morning, Mr. Egbule, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abbott. My pleasure being here.
Very good. Well, very quickly, let's start with the legal side before we begin to discuss politics. Now, Section 188, Sub 10 of the 1999 Constitution says that, look, the courts cannot inquire into a legislative process. But some others have argued that the legislature is not above the law. It's also governed by the laws of the land, to the extent that where the Constitution prescribes a procedure for impeachment, then, of course, you know, if the House fails to do so, then the court can exercise jurisdiction, which is the argument, you know, with regard to the ruling by the Court of Justice Fibirisima. Now, but there were precedents in the past. A most notable one, that of Governor Ayedatiwa in September 2023, when, you know, the court stopped the impeachment process. He was deputy governor at that time. So how do you react to that, this issue about jurisdiction and the constitutionality of the injunction ex parte granted by Justice Fibirisima? The second leg of it is, what do you expect that Justice C0nfr0nts will now do as Chief Judge? Okay. Will he set up a panel, or will he say, well, as a chief law officer in the state, he must respect court ruling? Whether it is right or not, the place to go is a higher court.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ruben. You see, ours is a constitutional democracy. And in the context of that constitutional democracy, we have what we call separation of powers. And the whole intent of separation of powers is that you're going to have checks and balances, one arm of government checking the other arm of government.
Sections 4, 5, 6.
Yes. And within the context of what we're having in Rivers State, is that you have the House of Assembly that is now checking the exercise of the executive. First, the Constitution in Section 1 says that the Constitution is supreme, and this provision shall have binding force on all persons and authority. Then you go to Section 1 sub 3. It says, if any other law, including acts of any executive arm or any person, is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, that other law is null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. Now, if you place this side by side with Section 108 sub 10, which ousted the jurisdiction of a court to entertain any matter with respect to legislative proceedings on impeachment, it brings to fore just one question. What happens when a court order is clearly against the provisions of a constitution? Because Section 1 sub 3 now says every other action, including laws that are inconsistent with the provisions of a constitution, is null and void. So the other question is, what would the CJ do? For me, I think as a constitutional lawyer, all eyes are now on the CJ. First, impeachment proceedings is not just within the confines of the House of Assembly. You have two arms of government involved in that impeachment proceedings. You have the House of Assembly and you have the judiciary. The House of Assembly, to the best of my knowledge, have followed the provisions of a law in terms of this impeachment proceedings. Now the buck now stops with the CJ. The question that we must now ask is, in the light of constitutional provisions that arms the jurisdiction of courts to entertain matters of this nature. Even the Court of Appeal had said in A.N.I. Abaribe against the Abia State House of Assembly, that no court has the jurisdiction to entertain a matter of this nature. And in that matter, let me say what happened. Ina Abaribe quickly rushed to court when they served him a notice of impeachment. And the court said, we don't have jurisdiction at this point. He went to the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal affirmed it. The truth is, if we choose to operate by the provisions of our Constitution, what that court order has done is that the court order is a clear, flagrant disobedience of the provisions of the Constitution.
No. That's why I cited precedents for you.
Yes.
I cited the case of Deputy Governor Lucky Ayeditoa,
yes,
as he then was,
yes,
September 2023, right?
Yes.
If the court stopped the impeachment process. It was the House of Assembly that wanted to impeach him. Then there's also the case of Ladoja, right? The Ladoja case, which was also about procedure. Now, so are you saying that Governor Fubara does not have, the right, or Professor Odu, to seek constitutional self-preservation? Because if the procedure is being violated, as the court is is saying in its grant of the ex parte injunction, which is not a vacation of impeachment, it's a temporary order, yes, and that's why the court has said we adjourn till January 23. It can only delay. It does not mean that the court of Justice Phoebe Risma has, by that fact, usurped the powers of the House of Assembly.
Dr. Abati, let me say this. Okay.
Yes.
Every court case is determined on its own merit. I know that of Ladoja's case. Ladoja's case did not in any way, Ladoja didn't go to court prior to the conclusion of his impeachment proceedings. So you see, every case must be determined on its own merit. The question is, what rule, what constitutional provision has the House of Assembly flouted? Section 108, Section 188 is very clear. First, by 1/3 majority, a notice of impeachment is served on the Speaker. The Speaker sends that notice of impeachment to the governor and the deputy governor in this contest, and wherein they make their response. After that, by a motion of 2/3 majority, that procedure, that motion is now adopted by the House of Assembly and sent to the Chief Judge to set up a 7-man panel. Within the context of what has happened in Rivers State, where did the House of Assembly flout?
The governor said he never received the notice.
I'm coming. Hold on, Dr. Bati. Hold on, Dr. Bati. You see, the governor said he did not receive the notice. But was it yesterday or 2 days ago during the, I think, one event they had at the Polo Club, the governor euphemistically said he got a love letter from them. Whatever he means by that love letter,
No, he didn't say he got a love letter. He was talking about, he heard about the love letter.
Beautiful.
He didn't say he got it. Please clarify that, please.
Just hold on.
Don't put words in the governor's mouth.
Just hold on.
I don't think that.
Just hold on, Mr. Rufai. So, if the governor said he has not received it, remember there is a panel. And if you take a look at the provisions of Section 188, the panel would always give fair hearing to all the parties that are concerned. You would have a fair hearing. In fact, the governor has... Yeah, the governor... Take a look at what Section 188 said. The governor even has a right to be represented by a legal practitioner of his choice. But in any case, at this point, it will be too hasty for anybody to rush to court. And the reason is very simple. You see, the three arms of government are circumscribed by the provisions of the Constitution. And that's why those of us who are constitutional lawyers and public affairs analysts to tell you the fact that
lawyer is a constitutional lawyer.
Beautiful,
because that's your basic instrument.
Beautiful, just hold on. Oh, can I just land? Can I land? Can I land? So that's why you see, it will be ultra-vires for the legislature to make laws that are outside the provisions of the Constitution. It will be ultra-vires for the executive to carry out acts outside the provisions of the Constitution. It will also be ultra-vires by the judge, by a court, to make orders that are outside the provisions of the Constitution. And I say again, where does this leave us as a country when the fact that you say, oh, every court order must be obeyed because it has been given? There's a legal magazine, lex non cogit ad impossibilia, which is the law must not command an impossible act. So even as you're sitting, there are just certain things you can't command. Take, for instance, a court gives an order. Nigeria is made up of 36 states. And court gives an order today and say, Nigeria is now 46 states. So therefore, federal allocation, blah, blah, blah commission, please be paying so amount of money to the other state created by that same court. That is an impossible act. That impossible act, to the extent that is against the provisions of a constitution, cannot be enforced. And you see, the whole essence why people are afraid of court orders is that you're going to be charged for contempt. But in this case, you're not going to be charged for contempt for an order that clearly flouts the provisions of a constitution. That's the point.
Okay,
very quickly. So, as you've cited a number of times, there are clear provisions for the process of impeachment as set out in Section 188 of the Constitution. Notice given, investigation, and due process. Based on what has happened so far by the Assembly, and I want to emphasize that the senior special advisor to the governor, Darlington Orji, on one of our programs had said that the governor had not been served. They hadn't received a notice yet. And there are already red flags as to whether or not there's been procedural issues or challenges based on this motion. And then in the event that the governor is not served, they say he's not around, he's not on seat. Mr. Ojo was saying he didn't travel based on fear of being served. What would then be the option of the Assembly to ensure that he does receive that notice of impeachment?
Okay, let me state that if someone institutes a matter in court and you're not served, you go to that same court, object to the jurisdiction of that court to even entertain the matter. Now, what we're having, this procedure we're having, we'll get to the place where it will culminate to a panel being set up. So at this point, our usual ordinary courts are not the courts you run to. You leave it at that panel. The CJ will empanel that 7-man panel who will now investigate that allegations of gross misconduct leveled against the governor and the deputy governor. But at no point did the Constitution contemplate that somebody can wake up one morning and say, I have not been served. You say, it's your own side of a story against the side of a story of the House of Assembly. And that's why you have a panel. That panel, and if you take a look at the qualifications of that panel, you would see that there are people who are objective, members who have character and integrity. Now, at that point, that's the place for you, that's a forum for you to now raise only objection.
Members who have integrity in the Rivers State House of Assembly?
I don't understand. I said the panel set up by the CJ.
Okay, that was set up by the CJ.
Yes, in any case, why would you raise any objection if any member of the House of Assembly has integrity? Okay. Are you by that statement assuming that they don't have integrity?
No, but I'm just asking you. I said what panel? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, because you had raised eyebrows when I said integrity with respect to the House of Assembly.
So that's what I'm asking you. I said what panel? Is it the members' integrity as regards this case? Where I said
integrity with respect. Hold on.
No,
I'll come to you. Just hold on. Rufai, just give me 1 minute. Let me land. I said integrity with respect to the constitution of a panel set up to investigate the allegations.
Okay, so that's an extraneous panel apart from the House.
No, yes, I've just stated here that it's not something that the House alone does.
Very good.
You see, impeachment proceedings is a collaboration between the House of Assembly and the judiciary. That's what I just said.
But I repeat my words. You cannot expect, when they set up a panel, the House members that want to remove the governor, you can't expect them to have integrity in this matter because they're already biased. So that was the point I was trying to make.
On what basis is that bias?
They want to remove him now. Can't you see all of them say they want to remove him?
No, because bias itself is an emotional factor.
No, but
we're dealing on legal factors.
No, it's not a case of legal factors. They want to remove him now.
Does not allow that members of that panel should be partisan.
Should be partisan. But they're partisan.
Yes, I just said that. I said they cannot.
The House members being members of the panel. That's
no. The House member, no, the Constitution cannot contemplate that those who are
obviously the point I was making.
No, it's not. It's not. I said members of the panel set up by the CJ.
Correct now. So that's member of the
panel. To the extent,
because I was talking about the House and the confusion you were making. Let me ask my question, please.
To the extent
would you let me ask my question?
Beautiful.
Would you let me? I want to talk politics with you. I don't want to talk legal rigmarole. I want to talk politics with you. Please, can you tell me the sense in the push to pass a supplementary budget for a state where, number one, the budget had already been passed because of state of emergency by the Federal House of Representatives, and the governor came in, gave account, said they still had money to spend till the expiration, and Darlington Orji came here saying that some of the members had already even collected 350 million from the Ibok-Abbas Ete tenure. So tell me the common sense in the need to now pass a supplementary budget after the National House of Rep had already passed the budget. Please tell me the common sense behind that.
Okay. First of all, let me say this, Mr. Rufai. You see, of all the professions in the world, your profession is the only one that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria placed a responsibility on to hold government accountable. That's Section 22. Not even lawyers, not engineers, not doctors, but journalists. And in doing this, we must try as much as possible to be objective. Now, you had said something about supplementary budget. I don't talk politics, but you had said supplementary budget, and that's a legal issue. I have seen and I've read the notice of impeachment and the grounds served on the governor and the deputy governor. Quite unfortunate, I didn't see anywhere where the House of Assembly mentioned supplementary budget. And you see, as a journalist, we must try as much. I'm not here to educate you. We must try as much as possible because we have a majority.
People come here and give
lectures.
But you will give a right of reply.
Dr. Abati, just hold on. See, the reason why I don't want to give you a right of reply because you're going to steal into my time. So let me go straight to the point.
I'm going to give you a right of reply.
Let me go straight into the point. We have a populace of people where you have people driven by emotions and those driven by reason. And so when you have a majority of people that are driven by emotions, the tendency is that whatever thing you churn out, they will just drive with it. And somebody will just come and tell you, oh, they want to impeach the governor. He has not brought 2026 budget. They want to impeach the governor because he has not brought supplementary budget. They want to impeach the governor, because they are loyal to the FCT minister. All of those things are emotional issues. So you cannot talk about impeachment except to look at the grounds. Because Section 188 say you cannot just come up and say you want to impeach a governor because he didn't greet you. You cannot say you want to impeach a governor because he ate garri in the morning while he was supposed to eat maybe rice. The Constitution says you must have grounds. The question we should be asking ourselves.
No, have the same Constitution, 188 sub 11, says gross misconduct is in the opinion of the lawmakers. So they can say he didn't.
No. But you will not find out in the. No, you will not find out in the grounds. The grounds of particular constituting, hold on, Mr. Rufai. The grounds constituting that gross misconduct is what you will now look at. If they now come up and say, you didn't greet us in the morning, it will be in the grounds. I am saying that in the notice of impeachment served on the governor and the deputy governor, there is nowhere allusion is made with respect to what Mr. Rufai has said, with respect to supplementary budget. None is in that place. So what we now have is we have a lot of fabricated stories in the public space that has nothing to do with the reason why the House of Assembly wants to impeach the governor.
Can I reply?
Yes.
So with due respect, you are not a journalist, and I'm going to teach you my job after doing many years in this.
Mr. Rufai, can we go straight to the point?
Let me reply.
Can we go straight to the point?
Please.
No, if you go straight to the point, you're eating my time.
Please.
You're going to eat my time. I didn't educate you. I just answered your question.
Would you let me speak?
I answered your question.
You will let me speak, please.
Mr. Rufai,
all right. So you cannot educate me about my job because this is what I do for a living. And in case you do not know, as a journalist, we amplify all sides, including what might be sentiments to you. Because what might be
fabricated sides?
What might be sentiments to you and fabricated sides to you is a point of view of the other party. This point of view, I talked about the supplementary budget, was a point of view enunciated by the other side.
Is it what you would look at or what the House of Assembly has done? I had thought that if you want to question the actions of the House of Assembly, you're going to question it on the basis of that notice of impeachment.
Secondly, you have no right to teach me the kind of questioning. All I just asked you, if you heard me properly, was that in what sense in the world that does it make for a supplementary budget issue after a budget has been passed?
But I was thinking that question was contextual. That question was not contextual. It's not in a context of what we're having.
So in what sense in the world was a supplementary budget needed after a main budget had been passed?
Did the House of Assembly ask for supplementary budget?
That was the question I asked you. And it was a general overarching question based on what was said by Darlington. So what you will have just done, rather than Rigba rolling and try to educate me on my job, because I've also given you the angle that it was Darlington that asked that question and that said that part, was you will have just answered and said, oh, that's it. It's not part of the budget. It's not bone of contention. And that's why I told you I want to talk politics. When you talk politics, context is quite broad. So in case you want to teach us our job, all right? So moving forward, since you said, as we speak, It's not a ground for impeachment and all of that. Then the next question I want to ask you is, what is the substance to this impeachment matter?
Okay.
And what's the logical sense behind it?
Okay. Well, if you talk about the substance and the logical sense about it, if the law has provided for grounds upon which an impeachment can be carried out by the House of Assembly, it may not be logical to you, but so far the grounds.
Go ahead.
So far the grounds are there.
Don't waste your own time. Really,
No.
Go ahead. Don't waste your time.
I have
Go
said
ahead.
here before that I have seen the grounds of impeachment served on the governor
So you
and
don't
the
know the
deputy
grounds. You
governor.
have to read it out. Okay, you want to read it out?
You don't. I don't want to make it.
Okay,
These are
go ahead.
documentary.
Okay,
We have.
Go ahead.
There are seven grounds.
Okay.
There are seven grounds. Number one, if you take a look at the ground one, is reckless and unconstitutional expenditure of public funds, contrary to section 120, 121, and 122 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you take a look at ground two is misappropriation of public funds, contrary to the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you take a look at ground three, hindering or obstructing the Rivers State House of Assembly, which is another arm of government protected by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, from performing her constitutional roles. If you take a look at ground four, conniving and supporting the illegal appointment of persons to occupy offices, positions in the Rivers State government without allowing for the requirement of screening and confirmation as prescribed by the Constitution of the Rivers State House of Assembly. I've said 8 grounds. All of these grounds, unfortunately...
Can I also ask you, recalcitrant disobedience to agreements, including those including President Tinubu post-emergency rules, is that also part of the ground?
Where is that ground?
Are these other part of the thing?
They are not part of the grounds. These are not part of the grounds.
Yeah.
This, I just mentioned now.
They are not part of the grounds.
They are not part of the grounds for which the House of Assembly wants to
so it is only all of these grounds.
I've said 8 grounds. 8 grounds. Unfortunately, I didn't see any political reason for those for the impeachment.
Okay.
So this thing you have now may just be what a lot of people have in the media, fabricated tales.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Albert.
It's an interesting subject.
Yes,
it's a developing story.
Thank you, Dr.
We want to thank
Albert.
you very much.